I did good. First objective completed, and I got the data I needed. I don't know why I'm saying it like this. It sounds so sterile and nerdy. Point is, I got to the stadium, saw Kiley, and learned something about her. Most importantly, I didn't F it up on day one. There's going to be more chips on the table for day two, though. The main thing I need from this trip is to engage with her. This is not easy. At the same damn time, I need to look hot, act smooth, give off a friendly vibe, be non-threatening, be natural, and charm her. I do not need to make her fall in love with me, of course. This is level 1 contact. Say hi, maybe make some light small talk, then act like I need to get back to my people. Simple. Let's do it. Saturday games are busier, but that's a good thing. I can blend in better. Plus, I have my roommate with me this time. He's really cool to help me out, even though I am buying his beers for the night. It was the only way I could lure him to a soccer game. Goes without saying that he doesn't know what I'm really here to do. We got here early again, got to the stadium pretty easily. I told my friend that we should just hang out by the food section and get a beer, knowing that Kiley's office would be within view, and I could not only confirm that she was working tonight, but could also get a gauge on her mood. Little did I know, this buddy of mine was all of a sudden a beer connoisseur. His first drink was just south at $20. And he tried to make it seem like less of a big deal by claiming I shouldn't have tipped, as if the small percentage of money I spent that actually went to the labor involved was the issue. See what I mean about the allure of prostitutes? Now I'm burning money on dudes just to get to the girl. You might have started reading this thinking I was crazy or too anal to go through the process of planning out a seduction strategy, but who has the money not to? Love and business aren't that different, even though one is much more exciting than the other. If you want success in these things, you need to budget, plan, and execute. That's just the way it is. It was starting to get dangerously close to warm-ups, and I still hadn't seen Kiley. Time is always one's worst enemy, and I knew that I couldn't sit here all game without my friend feeling like something was off, and probably hounding me for wasting his time. The paradox here, of course, is that soccer is a god-awful spectator experience. But if you are dragged out of the house to a stadium, you want to then watch the god-awful experience because the energy has already been spent. Sure enough, this dude asked me if we should grab our seats, and he brazenly threw in a request for another beer. I had my back against the wall, so I relented. We got up and made our trek, with me dragging my feet just in the off chance Kiley would peek her little blonde head out of that same door as we crossed. Yes, of course I bought tickets right in front of those offices. At a certain point, I admitted defeat and followed my pal up the stairs to my seats. Then I shifted gears to plan B. Soccer doesn't tick down, it ticks up. This is a violation of everything we understand about time. In football, real football, your biggest opponent is time. Watch any NFL game and pay attention to how teams can get some momentum going, only to realize that they just won't get the ball back enough times to make it matter. It's not the defense or the coaches or injuries or money. Your main opponent is time. The same kind of goes for soccer, but it ticks up for some reason. You're not running from the 0-0, you're weary of the 45 or the 90. Even then, it's not that important because the ref can just arbitrarily add time to the game based on injuries and such. Why the F wouldn't you just stop the clock? Why the extra step of adding time at the end? However, I will give them this. Time in soccer is more akin to time in real life. You can't wait for the 0-0 in real life because unless you're in the Jigsaw Killer's basement, you don't ever know when that is. Even if you get diagnosed with something terminal, the doctor gives you an estimate. 6 months of life remaining could be 6 months and 2 weeks. 6 months and 2 days, and unlike soccer, it might even mean less than the diagnosis. Time is always fleeting, obviously. At some point, any point, I could lose Kiley. She could find a guy and fall in love, or even make one small act of negligence and end up with a cross-eyed, buck-toothed, fat-ass baby. I don't know when that will happen, because I can't see the 0-0. Hence, and I really hate to use this analogy, I could very well already be after the 90. Waiting for that stupid-ass ref to say some dumb shit like, F it, 2 more minutes. With all that in mind, you'll understand why I had to get up every 5 damn minutes to see if Kiley was there. Hence why I bought the aisle seats. My friend didn't mind, mostly because he was already tipsy enough to actually pay attention to the game, but also because I told him I'd bring him back a beer every other time. I'll spare you the details and just tell you that it was the first time I got up in the second half that I saw her. She was by the big-ass merch place, same branded windbreaker on as before. Once again, and as had become habit, I froze and just appreciated. To further emphasize her beauty, I should mention that she doesn't even wear makeup to work, and she keeps her hair straight, Of course, she might have frizzy hair and have to labor to straighten it to look like this. I just want to be sure that she gets the proper respect for her efforts, no matter how little. Point is, she looked damn good. Now, this may come as a shock to you, but I have a very active imagination. Sometimes I'm afraid this takes on a mind of its own and it just runs with ideas it wants to believe. For example, when I saw Kiley right then, I felt like there was a sadness in her eyes. Her smile is always radiant and unforgettable, especially with her signature front teeth, one of which has a deeper gum than the other. However, if you really look deeply into her eyes, even from 100 feet away, there was significantly less sparkle tonight. Is this just what I wanted to see? Am I just allowing myself room to add that sparkle? Anyway, today's goal was interaction, so I knew it was now or never. Once again, delaying serves no man, etc., etc. I walked over to her and shoved all my negative thoughts and insecurities down with my best effort, surprising even myself with how well I did. I approached at approximately a 45-degree angle so I couldn't be seen directly from far away, but also so it didn't look like an ambush. The key to approaching women, I know, says the dude who never has a girlfriend, is the same key to anything, really. Just do it. Even if you approach a stranger with a smile and a hi, they'll probably smile back. You've already interacted more than the great majority of people who have found this person physically attractive. I tried to keep this in my head while I executed this next crucial step. One by one, my feet made their path toward Kiley, slicing the distance with every determined motion. At about 12 feet away, she turned, and that light that goes on when you see someone familiar, most people are strangers after all, illuminated, and I said, "Hey, how's it going? Do you work here too?" I was very careful not to sell that surprise too much because that's a very easy reaction to botch. Then you end up just looking like a character in whatever garbage soap operas are still running. Fortunately, I can safely relate that I sold it just enough because she smiled back at me and said a healthy hello. She then explained that she did indeed work here. Of course, I already knew this, but she continued by telling me that she started this season and she was really enjoying the work, this being exactly what she wants to do after all. We went on really smooth, just chatting about the team, and yes, I lied a ton about following the Galaxy, but soccer is such a basic sport that I could completely get away with like naming one player and saying stupid shit like, we just need to find a way to score more goals. I'm not going to go into the context of the convo because first of all, it's personal, and secondly, it's boring. You know how these things go. It's like stupid BS small talk where you're pretty much just establishing that you're not a crazy person who's going to rape and dismember her. So you talk about junk like sports or weather enough so that she could see you don't spend all day DMing Instagram models for feet pics. Needless to say, I succeeded in this part. I would instead like to spend this time talking a little about Kiley and what makes her so intriguing, as simplified to what she exhibited in this very exchange. If aliens invaded Earth on a genocidal mission and launched a laser beam that swept over the surface at exactly 5 feet and 1 inch from the ground in hopes of wiping out the adult human race in one go, they would fail because Kiley would survive, at least that first attack. She's petite. Yes, I've always found this very attractive in women, but her petite is a special one. Ariana Grande is disturbing in how attractive she is because she's pretty much built like a little girl who still thinks you get pregnant from French kissing. Kiley is built like a woman. Think solid ballerina. Ballerina that power lifts, maybe. She has all the proportions and grace of a full-grown female, but it's all just in a smaller package. I literally just made fun of guys who buy feet pics, and now I feel like I'm getting way too close to that fetishing vibe, so I'm just going to go ahead and move on. Presence is a big thing with her, too. I know there's been legit studies on this stuff, but I can sense when she's around. I really can. And when I engage with her, like I'm doing right now, it's like a different kind of existence. It's not a comfort, like, when I'm with her, I'm home. Nothing like that. It's more like on that episode of Rick and Morty. I know, bear with me. When Rick creates perfect level for Morty, and he just stands on it, and then he stands on normal ground, and he freaks the F out. The true flat ground gave him the perspective to know how crooked his real world had been, and now he can't go back. He had to have his memory wiped. That's what being in Kiley's presence is like. Dramatic as all hell, I know, but it's accurate. When you leave her, you realize how less appealing being away from her is, and you crave being back in that true level presence immediately. Yes, I've heard it a million times that the brain responds to love much like it does to cocaine, so that's probably the connection. But anyway, that's the big takeaway. Unless you want a novel, I better stop here. I actually don't care what you want. I don't have time for a novel. However, just to put a little more visual into your heads, she has blue eyes, short curly blonde hair, and always has a muted nail color on her long fake nails. She loves black and white Vans and pants that cut off right at her ankles. Don't say shit. I know it's getting close to that feet pics thing again. That should be sufficient enough. Use your imagination for the rest. As we continue to chat, I start to see, or start to convince myself, that she really enjoys talking to me. Like, she's not rushing away to interact with more fans or telling me she has to get back to work. Now, remember, you don't really want total eye contact and such, but total attention is actually a very good thing. We get to a point talking about the best places to eat around Staples Center, and for a tiny moment, I may be thinking she just might, maybe even slightly or half-heartedly, be trying to suggest a place we can hang out, like on a date, I think. This complicates things. Asking her out has to take place on either the next game or the game after, allowing for one more game in case I need to smooth things over, and possibly ask again. Can I break from the plan to ask her now? I guess it should be fine, especially if she's obviously leading me to that. Then again, if I'm way off and lying to myself, adding in beats and nuances that I want to be there but aren't actually there, I'm screwed. I'll come on way too strong, way too fast, and I'll have no time to recover. I try to steer the convo deeper into this direction, very, very carefully. I ask her if she's had this appetizer or that drink. I spin it into really emphasizing that she needs to try it ASAP to see how she responds. Does she lean into it? Like she agrees she does need to try it ASAP? Does she dare even make a big deal about how she doesn't have anyone to go with? No, she doesn't either. Am I waiting too long now? Is she getting turned off by how safe I'm playing it? Time, unlike in soccer, is ticking down to 0. I'm going to have to make a decision. When it comes to moments like these, it's almost always better to make the active choice as opposed to the passive one. Active choices win empires. Active choices also lose wars. I don't need to tell you that the stakes are the highest in love and war. At least, I hope I'm not the first person to tell you this. We're circling places around downtown Los Angeles, and it's just starting to sound stale, so it's now or never. I tell her the off-season is a great time to grab a whiskey ginger at this place because it's less crowded. Sure, there's less energy in the building, but it's nice to sit and enjoy a game or the company of someone special in a more relaxed environment. She agrees. I then say something about how I really need to head back there soon because it's been too long, and I swear I have this goddamn question loaded up in the chamber with that barrel pointed right between her eyes. Hammer back, finger on the trigger. All it's gonna take is the lightest squeeze to get this shit done. What am I waiting for? I don't know what happened. Did I see the future? Did I see all the ways I could mess this up, not just now, but at the bar, the second date, first vacation, the proposal, the wedding date, 5 years in, the third kid's 5th birthday party? Could all those thoughts have happened that fast? Is this how Clayton Kershaw feels when he F's up a playoff game? She sensed me drifting off, maybe my drop in energy, and hit me with a, I should get back. She said something about how nice it was to talk. Interaction, that was the day's goal, but I failed the bigger mission. I'm not sure why it happened, but it did. Opportunity thrust its way into that fleeting moment, and I ran from it. There was still more time on the clock, but I didn't think I'd botch things this early. Was that my only chance? Most big opportunities don't come around more than once. I don't have time to think negatively like that, but in reality, time doesn't care about your plans, no matter how elaborate and brilliant they might be. Guess it's more important to regroup. Can't think about how she might actually be offended or hurt that I didn't pull that trigger. Girls are usually trained on how to pull that first move out of a guy they like, and I'm sure she's had plenty of eligible guys who she's had to goad into asking her out and cuffing her. Yeah, I don't have time to overthink this. There's 3 games left to execute. 3 games, and then nothing. Straight up staring into the void. Like I said before, and still vehemently adhere to as a fundamental principle of life, time is the ultimate enemy. She wasn't there the next 2 games, or maybe she just didn't leave the office. Nothing I can do, really. Can't wallow in self-pity, as tempting as that might sound. There's no sign being sent, or gonna be sent to me. Master of my own fate and all that. Despite a previously made point, I think I'm definitely starting to see the 90. Okay, here it is. Mistakes were made, but other goals were hit with aplomb. No more playing. We have 1 game left to get it right. Let's do it. Honestly, how many times have I been here before? How many times have I backed off when it was time to strike? Blaming it on a botched plan or a choke or Any little off element that I gave my power away to and then said that element itself kept me from what I should be experiencing. That time she was baiting me into asking her out was just my inner personas fighting each other for control of a situation that was obviously handcrafted for me to achieve my goal. Handcrafted by a higher being that is burning midnight goddamn oil to get me into something positive. Like that NFL domestic abuse commercial that always felt like a very, very dark joke. No more. No more plans. No more data gathering. No more tactics. No more botches. No more self-destruction. Saturday, August 9th. Dignity Health Sports Complex, Carson, California. Kiley is either mine or she isn't. I will force that turning point. Blah, blah, blah. I got to the stadium and got in. It's hot today. I don't know why I had to specify that. It's August in LA. Galaxy are playing a team from Columbus, so I assume they're going to demolish. From what I hear, the team looks ready for a good playoff run. As you can tell by how I'm actually talking about the soccer team, at this point I'm willing to find any and all distraction for what needs to be done tonight. Though rest assured, I won't let those thoughts slow me down. I'm nervous. This is 100% my fault, so I deserve to feel nervous. I'm alone today. No reason for anyone to be here, just more distraction. Why is this so important to me? Hobo Johnson has a lyric I really don't like thinking about, but it's, I love the thought of being with you. Or maybe it's the thought of not being so alone. Ooh, she's here. Remember what I said about presents? I can feel it right now, even though all I can see is the super fat kid eating a churro. Why do his parents do that to him? They're confusing gifting a carnal pleasure for expressing love. I guess a lot of people do this since love is such a misunderstood concept, or maybe not. Maybe we do understand it. It's just so simple we overthink it. It was John Mayer who said, love is a verb. That's pretty simple, but not really. At least it puts the emphasis on the action quality of the concept. There she is. Thank God. Had it been any longer, who knows where my overactive mind would have taken me. Coming up some profound line of logic that ultimately could cure mankind's appetite for constant happiness, all while solidifying my inability to ever attain any myself. See, lots of BS and no Kiley. Not a good deal. I'm within striking distance. That's a weird way to put it. F it. I walk up to her and say hi. Her hair is extra curly today. I'm proud to say that I resisted the urge to say, weird running into you here. Instead, I just gave her a quick test. I swear this is the only one, to see how interested she was in talking to me. She had to be tired of me by now as an acquaintance, so if she still conversed with me without breaking, she must like me in some way. Am I really still doing these tests? In real life, you can't stop to analyze how something is going. This is another reason we love sports. If you're getting your ass beat 5 minutes into the second quarter, you can't really do anything. There's a certain skill in managing the game from that point until you can get to halftime and readjust. Of course, in real life, we usually have to make an improvisational decision and then just roll with it. It's rare we can plan things out in detail. Even if we could, we run the risk of botching the prep and having to ride a bad plan into battle, in which case we'd still have to make some improv decision at some point and again run with whatever the result was. I tried to plan my way into Kiley's life. Maybe it would make more sense to say I tried to scheme her into mine. The need to prepare like a battle for something as organic as love is a bit troubling, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like I said earlier, people like to compare love and war, but they're really direct opposites. One is a profound concept we don't fully understand, and one is perhaps the worst thing that humans have stumbled upon. One is spontaneous and liberating, while the other is ugly and just sad, and only one is necessary. As I look back, nothing could have been more foolish than to approach love as one does war. My only frame of reference was plain logic, and that's why I didn't and couldn't understand my folly. I ran into the common error of seeing every problem as a nail because all I had was a hammer. This didn't mean I was doomed from the start, but only that I had a lot less control than I had thought. I spent hours and hundreds of dollars, seriously, just to do what could have been done months ago for little to no money down. Perhaps the biggest thing I learned while trying to find and charm Kiley at the Dighi was that you can study and study concepts. You can commit them to memory. You can bring them up at parties and workshop them with different socioeconomic groups. You can build your entire life around them. And you can and probably still will violate them yourself. Sometimes you must. How many stupid-ass things did I say and blindly adhere to while focusing on my target? How many did I ignore when I needed them the most? Kiley rattled me like I had never been rattled before. Then she taught me what I thought I already knew. Ultimately, I'm stronger and wiser, and definitely humbled. That's what I'm most proud of. Not just making it through 5 soccer games, itself deserving of some kind of commendation. No, my proudest achievement this summer was that at the end, I was wise enough to see what went wrong. Even in the many adjustments, I was separate enough from my ego to really learn what I needed. These transcended Kiley, romantic love, maturity, whatever. It was all that I needed right when I needed it. She said yes, by the way. Right away, too. I'm probably too hard on soccer. That was Kiley Works at the Dighi, written, produced, and performed by me, Josh Ramirez. Make sure you're following me on YouTube and on my Wattpad to get the stories a little early, and coming soon to podcasts everywhere you get them. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed.